Ellie from Excellence Property Management here. Today I'm going to talk to you about a topic that I'm very passionate about. I often find myself having this conversation with friends and family at barbecues and the like, and I can never seem to get the message across. And it does sometimes feel like I'm hitting my head against a brick wall, but I'm going to try and stress to you today. So what I'm going to explain is how a bad tenant can end up costing you an absolute fortune. And I'm sure you've all heard the horror stories, but for some reason owners always think, oh, it won't happen to me, and have an optimistic view. I totally get where that comes from. Your property's been vacant for a while, you haven't had much inquiry on it, you don't know when this is going to end, you're missing out on rental income. Quite often you'll find that you're chipping in your own wage to prop up the mortgage repayments, and it gets very, very stressful. All of a sudden a tenant comes along, it doesn't feel quite right, but you just want this nightmare to be over, so you accept the tenant. This is kind of where it can all go wrong, but I'm going to explain exactly why that is. I'm going to start with what your rights are as an owner. So you accept this tenant into your property, and there's two different types of breaches, so I'll go through both scenarios, but the first one is serious breaches. So this covers events like when your tenant isn't paying their rent, or if they're using the property for an unlawful reason, something like that. So your tenant's not paying their rent, what can you do? So when they're 7 days in arrears, you can issue them with a notice to remedy breach, which basically is a breach of the tenancy. It's a formal notice. This then, however, gives your tenant 7 days to rectify that breach. They rectify it within the 7 days, story's over, you've got to wait for it to happen again. However, if they don't, what you can do on the end of that, the second one, so when your breach hasn't been remedied, you can actually apply to the court to have your tenant evicted from the property. What this involves is an entire court process. You've got to fill out court documents and so on, and then you put in your application, but you're going to be waiting probably another 3 to 4 weeks to even be heard at court. Then when you get to court, if you've made a mistake, if your documentation isn't correct, or the judge on the day is feeling sorry for the tenant because your tenant's given them a good story, denied, your tenant's going to get away with not paying their rent, and you're just going to have to live with it until your next course of action occurs. The second one is non-serious breaches, and these are things like not keeping the property clean and tidy, having an unapproved pet at the property. So these are considered not serious under the Act. So what you can do is quite similar. You can issue the tenant with a notice to remedy breach, and then they get 7 days to remedy that breach. If that breach is not remedied in 7 days, there's nothing you can do. You're just going to have to breach them again. Once you've got 2 breaches for the same event, you can then apply to the tribunal to have your tenant evicted from the property. Because this is considered not serious and not urgent, you're looking at waiting at least a month to 2 months, sometimes even 3, depending on how busy the court is, to have your case heard, to have your tenant evicted. When you're going down the road of especially non-serious breaches, you should expect that whatever claim you're making is going to be denied. I've had a personal experience where a tenant wasn't looking after the property, and there was seriously an inch of dirt on the carpet, and she had failed at least 8 breaches, and unfortunately the judge on the day said it wasn't a serious enough reason to evict the tenant, and that we just had to wait until the lease expired. So as you can see, all this time you're waiting to get rid of your bad tenant, they're probably doing other bad things as well. There's more wear and tear on your property. If it's for rental arrears, you could be out of pocket. If you do eventually get them out, then what you can expect is to have a whole pile of cleaning, probably some repairs, and no rent until you find someone else to move into your property. So now that I've explained that whole scenario and referring it to the one at the start, sometimes it's a much better idea to drop your rent or just wait another week to get a good tenant as opposed to having a bad one. As you can see, that's exactly how getting a bad tenant can cost you a fortune. What I also find is that in some cases, those scenarios are actually encouraged to you by your property manager because the property's been vacant for a long time and they want to get out of that. If that's the case, obviously it's also going to end up costing you money because your property manager is not your insurance agency. So really, really important to make sure you get good tenants in your property because that's how you're going to get the best return on investment. If you want some more detailed information, please check out the blog I've written for you below. Otherwise, give us a call, send us through an email. We'd love to hear from you. Also, don't forget, if you've got a friend or family member who are looking for a good property manager, refer them through to us at Excellence Property Management. If they become a client of Excellence, we will give you $200 cash. Thanks very much, guys. I'll see you next time.